Okay, so I'm back with a video. I did a project recently and I wanted to show it to you guys. Not so much to show off or anything, but hopefully just inspire you guys by this fence that I did, and give you some ideas as to what you can do with your garden to make it more functional and make it look nice. So let me know what you guys think about this fence project. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of me constructing it and putting it together, but I'll show you a couple little details on what it is and how it went together. So as you can see, I got some things growing up the fence. This is the one part of the functional aspect of it that I had created this fence and designed it particularly to look like this. Another function was to keep our dog in the yard. I wanted him to be able to roam the whole yard. Couple reasons: just to give him a lot of space because he's outside full time, and number two, keep the critters out, all the squirrels and raccoons and all the enemies to trying to grow your own food. He does a pretty good job at keeping all the pests out. We got tomatoes here growing on the fence. So the material that I chose to use, the gray stuff here, is actually recycled plastic lumber. They've been building a lot of playgrounds and everything out of this type of material recently, and for me here in Florida it's pretty hard to come by. I had to order it in from out of state and they had to ship it in. There's nowhere I can go to just pick this stuff up, so it was a little on the expensive side, the cost of material. So looking back on it, I probably would still do that again just because of the longevity this product is going to offer. The alternative is just using treated lumber, which I kind of want to stay away from as much as possible, especially growing edible food. The fencing material here, these are just regular cattle panels that you buy at any feed store, Tractor Supply or whatnot, and this is perfect for vining things to grow on and get all tangled up inside. And the openings are kind of big, but our dog is big, so it's perfect for him. We also recently got a cat, an outdoor cat, and this allows the cat to go in and out as she pleases. So I think it works out great for what we're doing and what we need it for. So for some of the aspects of how this thing went together, from post to post is 8 feet, and these here are kind of equivalent to your standard 4x4. These posts, I think they were originally about 6 to 6.5 feet long. From the supplier, I ordered 6 feet, but they came in, a little longer than 6 feet. So they're about 4 feet up off the grade of the ground. So there's about 2 to 2.5 feet buried in the ground. I did use concrete around each base to set it in. Not a full bag of concrete, more or less about half of a 50-pound bag of concrete for each post, maybe a little bit more per post. And I did the top and the bottom rails. This material is equivalent to a 1x6 that you would get at Lowe's or Home Depot. And I made a little jig when I was setting these to give me a consistent offset from the top, so there's a consistent little reveal at the top at every post. I didn't go crazy and use string lines or anything. What I did was I just kind of like eyeballed top level. Once I got 1 or 2 posts set in place, I didn't measure each and every one. I just started eyeballing things, and you know, it turned out fine. One thing you probably see from this view, let me get over to this one here. You can see this board has a pretty big bow in it. It's going like this. What I found was once the sun really started to hit these things, the expansion and contraction on these is a lot greater than wood. So the boards get a little bit of warpage on them, which is something, you know, keep in mind if you're looking at doing something like this. This one got pretty bad. What I may have to do for this particular board is take it off and cut it a little shorter so it doesn't want to flex so much. But anyway, it doesn't really bother me. It still looks great, you know, from the front. You're only gonna really tell if you're standing up on it. So from the outside, it still looks fine. I'm really pleased with how this project turned out. And let me know what you guys think about this. And one thing I was considering doing on each post was cutting out a flat part that would be kind of like a cap for this, and overhang, you know, about a 1/2 inch all the way around, kind of finish off the top. I don't know, it looks good like it is, but that may add a little bit more detail to it. But that's something down the road that I can do if I want to. Hello, Mulberry. Yeah, so I think this project, it adds a real nice touch to the garden overall. Like I said, not only it has that functional you know, purpose behind it, but it looks really nice. Here's the back side of the fence. So this is going to show a little detail on kind of how I put this thing together. Each joint here for the top and bottom rail is just a butt joint, so it kind of just butts up against the posts. And I use these angle brackets and screws to hold it all together. So there is no glue, or I'm not screwing this board into this post. I'm just using the bracket to achieve that. And to hold the cattle panel on, I found these little, it's like a little saddle clamp in my Lowe's store. In the closet brackets, closet shelving section, you can find these, a package of them. They're to put those wire shelving parts up on the wall. So these work perfectly. They're exactly the right size to hold these cattle panels on. And the screws, obviously, you just need short ones so that it doesn't poke through on the front. So that's basically how this whole thing went together. I used 2 to 3 of these along the top and bottom to hold the cattle panels on. And where the only thing that was kind of tricky in some areas, where along the front here, where I have a pretty steep angle, I wasn't able to get an angle bracket in that corner. So this one I did use some screws along the front to screw it to the post, but that was only in one spot along the front where I have a steep angle. And this entryway, let me back up here. So this is the sidewalk leading up to the front door of my house, and so we can come out of the front door of our house and go straight into the garden. I decided to do just this rectangular arbor. Turned out really nice. It's probably about 7 to 7.5 foot tall, and the construction's very similar to the posts, where we use the same clips to clip this guy on all around the perimeter. And going to be growing some food up and over this guy. The main thing that's going to overtake it is Tendura, the perennial cucumber. I have that growing right there, so a couple more months and that guy is going to pretty much fill this whole thing in. I did have some peas growing up here earlier when it was cooler, and they got up to about like 5 or 6 feet tall, so they were covering that one whole side. And the gate, I did use regular 2x4, no, not 2x6 material on the gate. This is because I needed the rigidity to keep the gate nice and square. Instead of the plastic, like I said, it tends to like warp and wave. So I just did, I don't know if you can see it here, but a half lap joint on every corner. Cut out half of the material on the rail and the stile, and made it so it's nice and flush. Really strong joint, keeps everything nice and square. And lined it with the same cattle panel. Got some nice heavy-duty hinges here that have there's got a spring in them, so it's self-closing. Just because we have the dog, and if the kids are going in and out, we need to keep the dog in. And the latch I chose to use was just one of these quick, I don't know what they're called, but really nice and easy to use. Just lift the little lever up and pull it open. So really pleased with how this turned out. I had to paint the wood to try and match the posts. It didn't quite turn out exactly. It's kind of a little off. It's hard because this recycled plastic material, I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of speckled. It has some light and dark in it. So in hindsight, I probably should have painted the door just a totally different color altogether. My wife was saying she wanted it like a mustard color, which probably would have looked really nice. But anyway, that's the project. From my garden to yours, God bless.